Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy, Persona, Dragon Quest, Fire Emblem, Tales of. Whenever somebody asks about JRPGs for beginners, you usually get those types of answers. Play any game of those franchises or Pokemon. Yeah, but you don't want to get into that, do you? You don't want anything to do with this mainstream crap. You want to get into JRPGs the obscure, niche, underrated hidden gem way. Well, I have here today 10 recommendations, great obscure recommendations for beginners into JRPGs. So let's begin!
Number 10. Beyond Oasis. Back in the day, this was among the classics on the Sega Genesis. Time went on and it became a forgotten gem. Thankfully, it's on most of these Sega collections, so you'll have no trouble finding it. It's an action RPG a la very retro style, you know, with barely any story, dialogues, more focused on its action role-playing elements. It's a beautiful game with all types of enemies, skills and scenarios, and of course, some puzzles here and there. What stands out the most is obviously the battle mechanics, acting like a beat 'em up but in a top-down view. It can get repetitive at times, but since the battle system is addictive, you'll enjoy it most of the time. Beyond Oasis is no masterpiece whatsoever, but it is a pretty damn decent game, nowadays obscure but perfect for beginners in JRPGs. Number 9. Revenant Saga. Revenant Saga is a love letter to classic turn-based RPGs with simple stories and simple mechanics. It is definitely a trip to the past with a bunch of truly inspiring elements, such as an overall map that looks 16-bit to battles that look more like a PS1 or even PS2 JRPG. The story is quite good and somewhat dark, but it doesn't stand out much. However, that was precisely the point, to make a balanced game in every single aspect. Classic turn-based RPG, as I was saying at the beginning, random encounters, normal battles, with your party of characters learning skills as they level up. Again, this game isn't exactly the greatest hidden gem ever, but it does deliver a solid adventure to drag beginners into the genre. It came out for every modern system, so you have plenty of options on where to play it. Number 8. The Mercenary Saga Chronicles. Here you'll get not only one but 3 games, identical in terms of gameplay but totally different in terms of story as they are unrelated to each other. They're strategy RPGs originally released for mobile devices, until 2 and 3 got ported to the 3DS digitally. This Switch collection came out on both digital and physical format with all 3 of them, and there's also a new one coming out soon. By the look of this, you may notice similarities to the popular Final Fantasy Tactics. In reality though, it resembles more Tactics Ogre, another obscure strategy RPG, but one that's brutally hard. These 3 games are a very balanced version, much friendlier than those other 2. So if you're looking to get into tactical RPGs, also with a love letter to the retro era, you can't go wrong with this collection. Number 7. Soul Blazer. Let me take you once more to the past before we move on to later generations. Soul Blazer on the Super Nintendo is a fantastic game, one where you'll spend many hours of fun. Its addictive nature revolves around your main character going into all sorts of unique areas to fight enemies and find stuff. And by stuff, I mean things that will help you restore towns all over the world. Once you do this, the interaction between player and NPCs will finally start to grow, as everything will help you on your quests. I never felt this game to be hard, perhaps only with some bosses, but really it's a challenging game that's perfectly balanced. Soul Blazer is an underrated action RPG that I strongly recommend to beginners looking for obscure gems. Number 6. Brave Story New Traveler. We're back at turn-based RPGs, this time with one that is more than perfect for beginners. Just like Revenant Saga, it feels very classic but modern at the same time. It's based on a book with the same name, but story-wise, it acts more like an indirect sequel. You are just a teenage gamer in modern life that goes into a medieval fantasy world in order to find a cure for your love interest. The journey is deeply fantastic, with all sorts of characters, races and magics. Battle system has its unique perks, which make it special in its own ways, slightly different than most turn-based systems. I don't think the graphics stand out much, but for a game on the PSP, they look pretty damn good. You really need to play this excellent hidden gem on the PSP if you want to get into JRPGs the obscure way. Number 5. Luminous Ark. If you want a more modern-looking strategy RPG that's great for beginners, Luminous Ark might be right up your alley. It's not a political drama filled with war shenanigans and betrayals and such, like the Mercenary Saga. I love those types of stories, but sometimes it's great to play some light-hearted games. And while Luminous Ark is not exactly a comedy, it acts as such most of the time. Balanced gameplay mechanics will make your start into tactical RPGs all the more fun, especially with its funny and likable cast of characters, each with their own skills and magic spells. There's a second game also on the DS, but I only recommend playing it after the first one. It's harder than it, so it could be harsh for beginners, but the first Luminous Ark, I think it is ideal for you. Number 4. Lord of Magnum Made in Heaven. Let's continue talking about light nature games, but now with one that's highly unique. You won't be playing these for the story since it's a funny harem, although it does have its heartwarming moments. It's a game that combines all three subgenres into its extremely addictive and fun battle system. You move around limited areas to position your character in order to attack your enemies. Doing this will make them bump against each other and hopefully damage the mini-bosses. So I guess it's more turn-based with some strategy elements involved. Some battles will take too long, but you'll want them to be that way. Trust me, this game is totally worth playing just for its battle mechanics, as it is somewhat enticing. And yeah, it's also perfect for beginners, since it's balanced, friendly, cheesy in a good sense, and just very fun to play. Number 3. Cordia, The World of Fate. One of the absolute best strategy RPGs on the PS1 is definitely Cordia. An obscure game with a great story and a great cast of characters with strong development. It's one of those with two protagonists where the game lets you choose which story to play first. Obviously you'll want to do both to properly understand the plot and get the true ending. It's a grid-based tactical RPG and it's balanced. You won't need to grind at all, unless you want to get more powerful, of course. It's card-based too, with most magic and spells coming from using them on the battlefield. Last but not least, you can also use monsters and have them fight at your side. You might want to do that often, you know, to have as many party members as possible. Cordia is an amazing journey with one of my favorite female leads in a JRPG, Lacrima. Is it any good for beginners, considering it's a PS1 strategy RPG? Yeah, I know those can get pretty brutal, but I'd say this one is one of the most balanced of them all. Number 2. Radiata Stories. While not exactly a hidden gem since it's fairly known, Radiata Stories is totally an obscure jewel on the PS2 nowadays. It's an action RPG with a lot of charisma, revolving around the adventures of a young man trying to find his place in the world. One of the most truly interesting aspects of this game is that you can recruit almost every single character in the town of Radiata. And yeah, they get to fight with you in battles, even if they're not directly related to the plot. At some point of the game, the story will branch into two routes. One lets you stay in Radiata to keep fighting alongside its townspeople and recruit even more. The other one will make you lose all of them, but you'll get to recruit almost every other character from the other races. Cool, huh? And it's balanced, it's fun, it's addictive. The battle system looks clunky, but somehow you get used to it. More so that you'll end up enjoying it sooner than you might expect. Pick this one up as it is still reasonably priced, and it's definitely a great entry for beginners into JRPGs. Number 1. Ragnar Tactics. Let me finish this video with the last strategy RPG on the list, and that is the masterpiece Ragnar Tactics. Another beautifully looking game with tons of characters, routes, endings and whatnot. You create and slightly customize your main character, choosing its class or job. Then you'll enter the fray with 3 initial routes to follow. Playing with this guy is the best one as it is the most balanced of them all, perfect for beginners. Once you've beaten this excellent game, you'll immediately want to restart it and choose a different route. Oh yeah, it's that good. Great music, great graphics, amazing art, story that can sometimes delve into serious topics and then come back light-hearted. It's just perfection to drag beginners into tactical games, a subgenre that's usually kinda hard to get into.
Well guys, those are my 10 recommendations for obscure JRPGs for beginners. If you want more, don't worry, just read the comment section below. I'm pretty sure my guys are gonna swarm the comments with more recommendations obscure for beginners like you. Thanks for watching, don't forget to subscribe and share this video with your friends. See you next time.